Hi, I'm Erin. Thank you so much for joining me for this 30-minute deep stretch class. Today we're going to be working toward the very, very deep posture of Hanumanasana, splits pose. Splits pose is obviously a big hamstring opener, but it's also a big quad and hip flexor opener and psoas opener. So whether or not you do splits at the end of this class, you're gonna get great stretch for your hamstrings. That'll be our main focus, of course. If you do have blocks, have two handy. If not, maybe books or whatever, or nothing. And again, if you have a strap handy, that's great too. If not, don't worry about it. And finally, although I don't have one, if you have a towel or a small towel, have that handy too. So these are just props that you can have at your aid, but you don't need them. I'll give you lots of options for our class today. So we're actually gonna start laying on our backs. So again, if you have the strap, have tight hamstrings, bring it with you onto your back. Otherwise, let's start with Supta Baddha Konasana. So bring the soles of the feet together, scoot the hips toward the heels, let the knees rest down toward the floor, and then lower down onto the back. We're gonna take one hand onto the low belly, and we'll take one hand onto the chest, right around where our heart is. And take a nice deep inhale through the nose. Let it go through the mouth. Inhale through the nose. Close the lips, exhale through the nose. Right away, find our Ujjayi breath. Nice deep inhales and exhales through the nose, gentle constriction to the back of the throat, making the breath audible. So the breath is really going to aid us in our practice today. If we keep a steady breath and we can really focus on the sound of the breath, we can keep a steady mind as well. The breath also aids us in opening the body. So let's take 3 more breaths here in Supta Baddha Konasana. Just feel the belly and the chest rise with the hands and fall with the hands. 2 more. Last breath here. Extend the left leg long on the mat. Draw the right knee into the chest. Interlace fingers around the knee. Hug that knee in tight. And then just kind of circle it around the right ribs and up toward the right shoulder, getting a nice compression in the right hip. Elbows stay in. Press the shoulders and the hips down onto the floor. Last breath here. Relax the grip on the knee, guide the leg back towards center and start to extend the leg up toward the sky or the ceiling. Take the hands behind the back of the hamstring. So maybe we're just here today. If we have a little more flexibility and want to take it deeper, you can start to walk the hands up the back of the leg. If you do have a strap and want to use it, this would be a place to put the strap on the top of the foot and take hold of the strap. You can do this with a shirt or a towel or a blanket as well. And start to draw the toes toward the face. Maybe we have enough flexibility to bring the hands toward the foot. But this is early, so even if you know that you have that flexibility but you're not feeling it yet, back off. You don't need to rush this. And if all of that's too much, we'll just keep the leg bent and start working it towards straight. Last breath here. Wherever we are with our grip, start to lift the forehead toward the knee. And just activating the core a little bit. Last breath. Walk the hands back down the leg. If they're up toward the foot, come all the way down. Bend the leg, come to 90 degrees, and we're gonna take a twist. So guide the knee across the body toward the left and extend the arm toward the right. Come back towards center. And we'll take those stretches on the other side. So draw the left knee in toward the chest, hands around the knee. Pull the knee in tight. And then just guide the knee around the left ribs and up toward the left shoulder. You should now feel a deep compression in the left hip. Elbows stay in. So we're active in the arms, we're active in the legs, active in the toes. Last breath here. And guide that leg back towards center. Start to extend the leg up toward the sky. Take the hands to the back of the thigh. Maybe we stay here. Okay, so same thing on this side, and this side might feel different. You got all these options. You can start to walk the hands up the back of the leg. You can take your strap or your shirt around the top of your foot. This is our first deep stretch on this side. So again, we don't want to push it. We're working into the body. We're working with the body. If it feels intense wherever you are, work with the breath. So find your deep Ujjayi breath. Really focus on the sound of the breath. Wherever we have hold of the leg or the foot, start to draw the forehead toward the knee. A little activation of the core here, as well as deepening into the stretch. Lower back down onto the floor, bend the leg to 90 degrees, and then guide the knee across the center of the body to the right. Take hold of that left knee with the right hand. Extend the left arm to the left. You can have that arm straight or bent, whatever's comfortable. And come back towards center. Draw both knees into the chest. And then just take a couple circles of the knees in both directions. Reverse directions. And now let's rock 3 times the length of the spine. Last rock all the way up to seated. We're gonna find Dandasana staff pose. So extend the legs long on the mat, and then just wiggle the sitting bones onto the floor. Get really active in the legs, so we want the quads engaged, nice and tight. The quads are the tops of the legs, so much so that maybe we see the heels lift off the floor. Find a nice tall spine. If we need assistance with the hands, just draw the hands back slightly behind the hips. Draw the shoulders down away from the ears. Sit up nice and tall. This might feel like a very deep stretch in the hamstrings depending on your flexibility. If so, we want to really focus on keeping a long spine. So try not to sacrifice the length of the spine for the straightness of the legs. So if it takes bending the legs to get the spine straight, that's great. Start right here. Okay, otherwise we extend the legs straight. We're working the legs. I hope you're feeling it already. Quads are tight, heels lifting, spine is nice and tall. So we're getting the legs warm. So we want to have this nice equal balance of strengthening and stretching. This is how we build flexibility in the body. So we're going to move from Dandasana to Paschimottanasana, which is a seated forward fold. So again, just wiggle the sitting bones onto the floor so we feel really grounded, nice tall spine. This time we'll inhale the arms up overhead, and we're going to hinge at the hips, reaching toward the toes. Maybe we reach toward the thighs, shins, or ankles. Either way, we want to start extending with a long spine into the hips and the hamstrings. All right, so if we're here in Dandasana and the legs aren't quite straight, we'll just start hinging forward. Okay, so you're gonna feel a nice stretch. Maybe we scoot the heels a little bit forward. Okay, maybe we're coming all the way into the fold. Wherever we are, from here, I want you to just turn inward, focus on the breath, and work into the stretch as we hold it. Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. Deep inhales and exhales through the nose. Ujjayi breath. See if we can focus on the breath and the sensations in the body so we can be fully present with what's happening, trying not to let the mind wander off the mat. It's a good practice right here. Complete this exhale. All the way back up to Dandasana, staff pose. Good. And now we're going to take Virasana, hero pose. This is going to stretch our quads and the fronts of our hips, our hip flexors. So come onto the shins. Bring the heels or the feet wide so we can sit between the heels. We're going to take the calves and just gently roll them out of the way. This is too much for the knees. Take a block and sit on top of the block. Okay, so we're working with where our body is today, and that might be different than it was on another day. So try and be patient with the body, work with the breath. Okay, so from here, option to go a little bit deeper. Take the hands behind us, lifting the chest. Maybe coming down onto the elbows, maybe one at a time. Just gonna feel that the further we come back, the deeper the stretch is gonna be in the fronts of the legs, all down to the knees. Maybe we can come all the way down onto the back. Maybe arms come up overhead. But you stop when you feel like you're getting a good stretch, but you're not feeling any sharp shooting pain. You should feel no pain whatsoever, just sensation and stretch. And as you work into the stretch and it gets intense, intensity is okay. We deepen into the breath. So for me, I have tight knees, so this is an intense pose. So I'm just really gonna focus on my breath. Trying not to let the mind wander somewhere else. This is truly the practice of yoga. Keep the face soft. wherever we are, we're gonna start to make our way out of the pose. We wanna come out of it nice and slow. Start to lift the hips, cross over the ankles, and extend the legs long. From here, it feels really good to give them a little bit of a shake. Ooh. That's an intense pose for me, and I know it's very beneficial. All right, so from here, we're gonna make our way into a low lunge. So you can get there however you want. If you like to take it from a down dog, feel free to do that. Otherwise, just come onto the hands and extend that right, or place the right foot between the hands, nice 90 degrees in that front leg, and then lift the back knee off the floor. From here, we wanna find a nice long spine, so draw the shoulders away from the ears, crown of the head is reaching forward, gaze is past the toes. So again, we're building some strength, we're building some heat and some energy in the legs before we stretch them, so hold this. Instead of collapsing into the hands, really use the spine and the legs to keep that nice lift, okay? A couple more breaths. All right, gently lower the left knee back onto the floor. Now we're gonna take Hanumanasana, which is half splits pose in preparation for splits toward the end of class. We have a couple of options here. So first, option number one, left hip right over the left knee. We extend that right leg long, okay? You can have the toes tucked or flat. We can point the toes down toward the floor or flex them back toward the face. Find a long spine again, just like we did in low lunge. Make that adjustment, and then we forward fold over the right leg. Okay, option number two is to sit the left hip all the way back onto the left heel and forward fold over the right leg. Okay, both options are great. You choose the one that works best for you. Half splits pose. Hold here, focus on the breath. This will be our last breath here. Inhale. Exhale. All right, we're gonna move into a quadricep stretch. So getting the hamstring and then the quad, these are gonna be imperative for our splits pose at the end of class. So come back into 90 degrees in the front leg. I'm gonna give you a couple of options for this stretch. Okay, first option is to keep the left hand on the floor, take the right hand to the inside of the foot and draw the left heel in. Okay, option number one. Okay, option number two is to take the left hand to the outside of the left foot, draw that heel in. Okay, if you feel balanced and want to get a chest opener, you can take both hands to the top of the foot. Like I said, it takes a little bit of balance for this option. Okay, whatever option you take, I want you to feel sensation and stretch in your left hip flexor and your left quadricep. Okay, that's where you should be feeling it right now. Take the option that suits you best for this stretch. Complete the exhale. Gently release that foot back to the floor. From here, we're gonna move into extended pyramid and pyramid pose. So we're gonna come back into low lunge. Find your nice strong low lunge, and then we're gonna start to straighten through that front leg. Forward fold over the front leg. Okay, so in this pose, we want the hips to be squared. So you want to draw that right hip back and left hip forward, okay? As opposed to lifting this left hip up, draw it down and forward. Breathe. All right, so moving into pyramid pose, we want to make sure that the feet are in line with the hips. So if your feet are one in front of the other, like you're on a tightrope, bring them into like a railroad track. Scoot that left hip forward, the left foot forward on the mat, and we're going to bring the left heel down to the floor. Okay, so we have two options in this pose. Similar to extended pyramid pose, we can keep the hands on the floor, drawing the right hip back, left hip forward, a little more challenging with the heel on the floor, and forward fold over the front leg. Okay, so option number 2, we can come up to standing. This is going to add a little bit of a balance element into it. You can take either the hands behind the back into reverse prayer, or you can take opposite hand to opposite elbow. Okay, this is going to bring balance into it as well. And then we're going to round down, bringing the chin to the chest, forehead toward the knee. Okay. I feel a little compression in the throat. So if you're coming at it just from the hands on the floor, start to draw that forehead toward the knee, working toward making contact. Okay, so even if that means bending the knee a little bit, so you can get the compression in the throat. Last breath here, whatever variation you're in. And release. Okay, if you came at low lunge from down dog on the other side, come back to down dog. Otherwise, just come down onto the knees. We're going to take that on the other side. So we're going to come into low lunge on the left side. Bring the left leg forward, 90 degrees, knee is stacked directly over that left ankle, and then strong back leg. So lift that knee off the floor, press the heel back, and then we want to find the long spine. So lifting, crown of the head back toward the heel, shoulders away from the ears. And once again, we're building strength in the legs, a little bit of heat in the legs. So try and avoid collapsing into the hands and hanging out here, like resting your weight on your torso on your leg, and instead, nice and strong and lifted. This quad is so engaged, that knee, we're working toward a straight leg. Hold here. Last breath. Release the right knee down onto the floor. We're going to take the quadriceps stretch now. We're going to take the, let's just do the quadriceps stretch. We'll get to all of them. So we're going to bend that right leg. You have a couple of options here. So you can either take right hand to the floor, left hand to the inside of the foot, draw the heel in. You can take the right hand to the outside of the right foot, draw the heel in. Or if you want to add the little balance to it, you can take both hands to the foot and draw it in. Please only take this variation if it does not cause any pain in the right knee. You should be coming forward. You should not be resting on the kneecap, but coming forward past the knee. Last breath. slowly release that right foot to the floor. Half splits on this side. Right hip over right knee, extend that left leg long. Left hip back, right hip forward. Forward folding over the left leg. Toes flexed or pointed. Or right hip, right heel. Forward folding over the left leg. Active in the legs. Deep Ujjayi breaths. Two more breaths here. Whichever variation you took, come all the way back up to a flat back. We're gonna tuck the back toes under for extended pyramid pose. So tuck those back toes under, straighten through that right leg. Same thing, hips are level and squared, so draw that left hip back, right hip forward, and forward fold over the left leg. Focus on a steady breath. Try to stay present in the sensations in the body, trying not to let the mind wander off the mat, but keep it here. And just bring your awareness to the fact that already you're more flexible than you were at the beginning of class. And just one step closer to splits pose, Hanumanasana. All right, so we're gonna bring that right foot in, heel to the floor. Once again, left hip draws back, right hip forward. Maybe we keep the hands on the floor. Maybe we have blocks here, and we just start to draw the forehead toward the knee, compressing into the throat. Or if we wanna come up and take an arm variation, opposite hand toward opposite elbow, maybe hands in prayer at the back, bringing the balance component into it. Draw that left hip back, right hip forward, forward folding once again over the left leg. So really focus on this stretch in the left hamstring, but also the strength that we're building in the legs. Complete the exhale. If hands are not already, place them on the floor and come back down onto the knees. All right, we're gonna start making our way into splits pose, Hanumanasana. I'm gonna give you a couple of options for the pose. So if you have blocks, take the blocks. We're gonna start with the blocks at the highest setting. So we're gonna come into basically a low lunge in the front leg, with the blocks up here by the right foot. All right, so I don't have one because it will do me no good. However, if you have a towel and you are on a tile floor or a wood floor, I recommend that you take your foot onto the towel in front of your mat. So get off your sticky mat, so then you can start sliding the foot forward on the towel. Maybe if you're on carpet and you have a paper plate, you can do the same thing on carpet. Okay, if neither of those are available, you're gonna have to shimmy like me. All right, so we're just working slowly into the pose. So from here, you can start sliding or heel toeing your foot forward. As we come forward and the pelvis gets lower down toward the floor, you can take the blocks onto the next lowest setting. I guess it's not really a setting, but you know what I'm saying. Okay, so continue to shimmy, shimmy. Maybe if you're not shimmying the foot forward, but you're shimmying the knee back. Okay, but you're still holding your weight with your arms so that you don't plop into the splits too fast and hurt yourself. Okay, so we take it slow. If If you feel good here, stay here. This is a big stretch. Wherever you are is a big stretch. You want to take it even deeper. Lower the blocks one more step. Come a little bit closer to the floor. All right. Finally, if you want to, you can remove the blocks altogether. Come all the way down into splits. So this is a pose that takes a lot of time, okay? Been doing yoga a very, very long time. I have naturally flexible hamstrings, so please don't be frustrated if you're not here yet. Most importantly, we're working on the flexibility in our hamstring, we're working on the flexibility in our left hip flexor. All right, so yoga splits are unique because we want the hips fairly squared, so the stretch does come into the left side, not just the hamstring. All right, there are different schools of thought on this, however. So if you do want to play around with the stretch, you can rock off a little bit to the right side, taking a little bit of the work out of the left hip. Okay, and another variation that you can try and play with is to take your right leg off to the side of the mat, so you're kind of in a crooked splits. So these are just things you can work toward or play around with, variations and modifications. All right, so let's draw that right leg back in nice and slow. It's not always easy to get out of the splits. And then just take the hips to the heels, rock it around a little bit. And then let's take it on the other side. We'll take it in the same steps, in the same progression. So bringing the left leg forward now. Blocks on that highest setting. We start to walk the left foot forward or the right knee back. And then just continue to move your blocks. Move with your body. Take it at your pace. And you certainly, if you want to take it way slower and hold it longer, please do. This is a short and sweet class, so we're not spending as much time in the actual pose, but I'm teaching you how to do it and how to get into it. Continue to move a little bit further, coming down onto a lower step on your block. Okay, maybe a little lower. Maybe we remove the blocks. This side for me is a lot tighter and a lot more comfortable, so really have to work with the breath. And again, you can take those variations if you want to play around with it, moving that leg a little bit off to the side so you're in a crooked splits. Rolling a little off to the left, so taking a little off the right hip. Just be mindful of your movements. Okay, and then we're going to come out of splits. Left leg back in. And just come sit the hips to the heels, take a couple rocks. And then cross over the ankles. Come down onto the back. Hug the knees into the chest. Deep breath in. Let it go through the mouth. And release into Shavasana. Legs come long, feet fall open. Arms alongside the body, fingers relaxed. Soften the breath, letting go of our Ujjayi breathing. Just really feel all the sensations in the body. Maybe you feel some pleasant tingling in the legs as they relax. I invite you to please stay in your Shavasana as long as you have time for, the longer the better. Today, as you go forward, may you have peace in your thoughts, peace in your words, and peace in your heart. Namaste.